Hi, everyone. How are we doing? Excellent. I'm Don Saucier, and I teach at K-State. I am the Faculty Associate Director for the Teaching Learning Center this year, and I am very proud to bring to you our second professional event of the academic year, and this is the first in our Need to Know series. We think this is critical, crucial information, and today our panel is going to be talking about baking accessibility into your course. Please help me in welcoming them.
Hi, everyone. We have sort of a strange panel set up here, but we're going to make it work. We're just here to talk to you about accessibility in all of your courses, both campus and online, and how you can really work to make materials ready for students, even if they haven't necessarily declared an accommodation need. We know this is a really big issue across all the campuses, and really it's been around for a while, so we need to be getting it done, right? So we're going to talk to you about some of the resources that are available on campus and a few tips and tricks on what you can do to make your materials accessible. So on our panel here is Trina McCarty and myself, Laura Widenor. We are the instructional designers for K-State Global Campus, so we will be able to help with any online courses that you may be working in. And then Deborah Goins is the instructional designer for the College of Arts and Sciences, and she's really focused on accessibility. And our final panel member is?
Well, in addition to the three of us who work here at K-State, I have the privilege of introducing Kaitlyns Story. Caitlin was born in Virginia and raised in Tennessee. She is the second of 5 children and the oldest girl. Caitlin lost her vision at age 9. She is a K-State graduate, and she has agreed to be with us today to share her own story and provide some insight and guidance for us. I'll ask Caitlin to introduce herself a bit more and talk as we move through the presentation today.
K-State's accessibility standards policy provides us guidance to ensure that all course delivery mechanisms that use technology are accessible to students with disabilities. It provides specific guidelines on accessibility, and it states that any course that has e-learning, that instruction needs to result in a course-taking experience that is similar and equivalent to a course that would have students without disabilities. So this policy applies to all faculty and staff, including grad students, who are responsible for developing new courses or adding materials to existing courses. By making courses accessible to students with hearing and sight disabilities, you're actually making that course more accessible to students with all ranges of accessibility.
So one of the key elements of accessibility is also the concept of universal design. And universal designs relates to the design of products and environments and making them usable for all people to the greatest extent possible with without the need of specialized accommodations or changes to that. Much like curb cuts benefit the mobility impaired people, electronic curb cuts provide benefits to the larger community as well. For example, I'm going to describe what you see up here on the slide. It's titled, "Clearing a Path for People with Special Needs Clears a Path for Everyone." It's a cartoon that shows students waiting for the school custodian to clear the stairs of snow. A child in a wheelchair says, "Could you please shovel the ramp?" The custodian, "All these other children are waiting to use the stairs. When I get through shoveling them off, then I will clear the ramp for you." The child in the wheelchair says, "But if you shovel the ramp, we can all get in." By providing the description of this image, now Caitlin knows exactly what the screen shows, and anyone in the back who can't read the small print also can understand the image and the context. While universal design primarily focuses on creating a barrier-free environment, universal design for learning moves much deeper into the design of all of the course elements and creating multiple pathways for expression, multiple pathways for absorption of the content, and making it engaging for all learners. We're not going to go deeply into universal design for learning right now. I could talk about that for hours and hours. It's one of my favorite subjects. So we're going to focus more on the accessibility level, and how we can move beyond that would be universal design as well.
I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit more information about Caitlin. So she graduated this May with a Bachelor of Science. What? Last May, sorry. All right, with a Bachelor of Science in Family Studies and Human Services, now called Human Development and Family Science, with a minor in Conflict Analysis and Trauma Studies, as well as received a certificate in Conflict Resolution. Caitlin, we talked, and I was told at one point that you vowed to never go back to school at one point. So can you talk about that and why you had made the decision to not give school another try, what changed your mind, and then if you can also tell us why you came to K-State and chose the major you chose.
Okay. Does everyone hear me okay? All right. So first order of business, I chose K-State largely due to convenience because I lived here. And it was here. So why go far afield when it's right here? And I decided to go back to school. Well, okay, first I vowed never to go back because the college that I went to one semester that I try not to remember very much, it was just that bad. I had no support from the administration. I was fortunate to have one professor who actually fought to make sure I had what I needed for my biology course. Can you imagine taking biology without being able to see all the nucleus and cells and cell division and have to look through a microscope? Not exactly my idea of fun. So I was like, you know what? I'm done. You all are clearly not doing what you're here for, so why bother? And so that was in the spring of 2009. And then life happened for a few years. And I wound up in Kansas working on Fort Riley as a cashier. And I got bored really fast. I thought to myself, you know what? I cannot work this job for the next 10 to 100 years. It's just not, I was bored within 6 months. And if you're bored in a job, you're not going to enjoy it no matter how great your customers are. So I thought about it really hard. I actually emailed with Joe Maceberg Tomlinson to talk about getting into school as a non-traditional student. And I'm friends with a professor here at K-State. We had met outside in other social circles. And she and I talked a lot about it. And so I decided to get really brave, put on my big girl pants and apply. And I got accepted. And my first thought was, well, we'll check them out. We'll check out the Access Center, see if these people are actually worth their salt or if they're just another bunch of knuckleheads. And I met back then, and it was September, October of 2014. At the time, April Pennick was the director of the Access Center, so I met with her, and we sat down, outlined things, and got a plan of action going. My first 2 courses started October 15th of that year. So I took 2 8-week accelerated courses, and every step of the way, and Pierce, April, whoever I called up and had to talk to at the time was there and had my back. And that's what helped me decide to stay.
Thank you, Caitlin. Now, I know you're probably all wondering, well, what does it take to make a course accessible? The Kansas State University Course Accessibility Checklist has been organized as a way to help you with all of the different aspects of what it takes to make a course accessible. We provide you with advice and with resources so that you and faculty can navigate through the process. And you should all have a copy of that checklist with you. And then we're going to take a few minutes to just kind of go through some of the highlights of what is involved in digital course accessibility. We're going to begin by talking about digital content, textual content that is inside of your documents. And we're going to talk about headings, fonts, lists, and links that are in your documents. For headings, you need to realize that they provide a functional and a visual organizational structure for your text. Screen readers and other assistive devices are built and programmed so that they can recognize heading tags in order to help you navigate through the document. So that is an accessibility feature that is built into products such as Microsoft Word that you should be able to use to help with the structure of your document. Another area to keep in mind is the way you use your font typeface, the size, and also the style of your fonts. You should avoid using italics and bold. Use it very sparingly. And then look for a font that is easy to read. Your use of list structures is important also because lists are used to help you organize groups of content. But there are two different types of list structure. We have what we would call an ordered list structure and an unordered list structure. An ordered list structure is where you specifically enumerate a sequence. First step, second step, third step, and you would use the numbered list, 1, 2, or 3. But most often, your list structure is going to be unordered. So you're going to use bulleted lists because the sequence is not crucial in that list. When you're creating hyperlinks in your documents, you should use descriptive words to create those hyperlinks instead of click here, click here, click here. Because you can imagine if a person was using a screen reader and every time they came across click here, it told them nothing about where they were going to go with that hyperlink. And also, as you're creating your document, you should be using underlining only to denote that it's a hyperlink. Now, I know that all of this may seem like a lot of information already, but it's okay. Microsoft has done a wonderful job with creating very short, clear video tutorials to take you through the step-by-step process. And they also have accessibility checkers with their products.
So PDFs are also challenging at times, mainly because the document that's scanned into as a PDF really comes through as just one solid image. And Kaitlyn's going to do a great demonstration of how a screen reader might see that later in the presentation. So you have to be really careful if you're creating a PDF that your base document, which you probably built in Word, is built properly with headings and organization. If you are scanning something into a PDF format, a chapter from a book or an article, make sure you're starting with a document that is already OCR, optical character recognized. Okay, and that is where if you have that document and you can highlight a word or two, likely that's at least at a base level of OCR recognition. The library can help you with transforming documents into the primary or the best format for a PDF. If you order documents from them, you can select or request that it be an accessible PDF as well. So they're a really great resource with that. You can also use Adobe Acrobat to check that PDF for errors. and on accessibility. Similar to Word, they have an accessibility checker built in, and it can help you to navigate where there might be a problem.
Another area to keep in mind is your use of visual content. Just think, students that cannot see an image must rely on you to provide an alternative description of what is contained in that image. And this alternative text should be succinct, convey useful meaning, yet not overwhelm the student. Another area to keep in mind is that when you're creating this text description, the text description should be in the picture format area. As you can see in this illustration, there is an area that's called description, and then there's an area that's called title. We want to put that alternative text in the area that's labeled description. And that would help so that a screen reader would be able to identify the contents of that image. Now, if that image is only there for decorative purpose, then there is an option to select that it's a decorative image, and then your screen reader will just skip over that image because it's not providing anything useful for your student. Your use of colors is also something that you need to think about, because colors should not be used as a single way of conveying meaning to your student. So just think, a student that has color blindness would not be able to differentiate between red and green. So you would not want to use colors as your only way to emphasize an item in your document. Also think about the color contrast of your document and any elements that might be included in the document. There is a formula that says that your color contrast between your foreground and background should be a 4.5-to-1 ratio.
So data content, this can be tricky as well. You want to make sure that you've formatted your tables in an accessible format. If you're using Word or Excel and you've labeled your top layer there as the heading of the data table, and check how it's going to read through the content. That will help anyone who needs that assistance organize and track through that data table. Spreadsheets need to have the rows and columns labeled, and any charts or anything accompanied by textual description need to draw attention to the correct areas. So it may be that you have a very large table, but you're really wanting your students to focus in on just one section. So you may do an alt text type description to that student that needs that to tell them what the purpose of that larger table is. Forms also need to be created accessibly so that there are tags. If you've ever tried to navigate those PDF forms and you're supposed to tab through and know what they're supposed to fill in each of those spots, it's important that each of those is labeled, and so they know what it is they're supposed to type into each of those spots.
And we all know that videos can make content super exciting, but media such as video and audio come with their own set of issues. We want to encourage you to think about your videos and to make sure that when you are using videos that they're essential to adding information to your course. Your videos need to be closed captioned in order to be accessible. And we recommend that when you create videos that you make them in segments that are no longer than 15 minutes long. Also, when you name the names of your video files, they should be descriptive instead of video for lecture 1. It needs to tell what is that lecture going to be about so the student would know when they're selecting that video what to expect. And when you're looking for videos from outside sources, you should look for materials that are already closed captioned and meet accessibility standards. If you do have a video and it's not yours and it's not closed captioned, you can request that the author of that video caption it or that author allow you to caption it for you. And this can be done by using a software application such as Amara, which is available through Canvas and also integrates with YouTube. Powtoon videos can be lots of fun. However, they're very video intensive and not a lot of words are associated with your Powtoon videos. That means that you're going to need some transcripts to go along with that as a supplement for a student that might not be able to get any meaning from a Powtoon video. This also would apply to any audio files that you may have, such as podcasts. You would need to include transcripts.
Okay, so web accessibility, that's tricky as well, right? All of these kind of have their own issues. Many websites are built accessible. It's supposed to be the standard, but it isn't always. And so doing a quick check using the Chrome Web Accessibility Checker can help you to know if you're providing a link to your students that is accessible. And that can help them to access the information that you're wanting. Canvas also has an accessibility tool, and it's that little person image up in the corner when you're working with a page in Canvas. And that can check to make sure that you've set your Canvas information up in an accessible format. Again, using those basics of text files within Canvas, using headers, using organization like that can really help you to build your Canvas site accessibly as well. No, I should be able to pull it up.
Okay.
Okay, this first, right?
Let me just switch with you real quick.
Okay. She's got some great demonstrations.
I know that's a lot of information still. I thought I'd take a few minutes to show you some examples of what we're talking about. A good place to get started when we're talking about accessibility is with your course syllabus, because that's usually how you start out your course and get off to the right start with your students, by setting some expectations for them in a course syllabus. This is a document, and this document needs to be made accessible for your students. So how do we do it? Well, as I mentioned earlier, headings is the key to making your documents accessible. I mentioned heading structures are built with accessibility in mind and create tags. I want to share with you just a brief demonstration of how that is done. Here, I have a Word document that is just pretty much just text. And if you'll notice, if I'm on my Home tab in Microsoft Word, there is a group called Styles. And in the Styles group, you see your heading structure. Right now, my cursor is clicked on my heading that is supposed to be heading level 1, which we would use for our titles. So I can either say that this is a title, or I can label it heading level 1. And I think I'm going to stick with title because it kind of looked funny there. Here I've tagged one that I want to be heading level 2. And then I have a section for my document. I'm going to title that as heading level number 3. And then I'm going to go back to heading level number 2 and a heading level number 3. Now, what does that do? Well, you can see that it changes the font and the style. But more importantly, it creates a navigational structure for your document. How do you know? If you switch over to the View tab in Microsoft Word, there's a group called Show, and then you can select Navigation Pane. Notice how that the navigation pane opens on the left-hand side, and you start to see how that your document now is starting to be formatted such as an outline view. This is not just helpful for you, as you can see the structure and the thought process of how you created your document, but this is going to be beneficial for a student that is using a screen reader or an assistive device, because their device is programmed to be able to skip through the navigation of this document, just like you would normally skip through the navigation of your document with your eyes. You don't normally read through your entire document from top to bottom, but you skip through the navigation. So let's look at a more practical application that we might be able to use. We're going to look at an idea of a syllabus that has been formatted with accessibility in mind. And just bear with me a second because I thought I downloaded the syllabus and I didn't. Give me just a second and we'll get a syllabus downloaded for you. Oh, let's see, it's right here. Huh? Okay, so here we see a syllabus. And this syllabus has already been downloaded and it's going to be provided to you in a web page as a template that you can use. In the syllabus, you'll notice that you have heading structures built in. You have the instructor contact information, and then you have communication and office hours. This is a guideline for you that you may be able to follow. Notice how, because it has been tagged with heading structures, you can skip navigation through the document. Again, for that student with the screen reader, they can find the location of the area that they need, the segment of that document that they need. Our students have reported that by your using a formatted template for the syllabus, such as this, it is much easier for them to understand what are the requirements for them in the course, because they can locate the rules and the policies that you have set up for them. So we will share that with you so that you have free access to this as a starting point. And then all you'll need to do is simply copy and paste from your own syllabus into this document your relevant content information. Now we're going to switch ideas just ever so slightly and think about, well, how can we use this same idea if we were going to be using Canvas to create a syllabus? We find that our students do better when they have a syllabus that they can easily find, and Canvas has a syllabus tool that makes it available for our students so that they can quickly find the rules of the course. We're going to take that idea of heading structures and we're going to make them tabs instead of headings, and that is going to make it easier for our students to navigate through the content of your syllabus. Now, how do we do it? We provide you with HTML code that you can use, and all you have to do is copy and paste this HTML code. I don't expect you to learn HTML code, but I am going to just highlight a couple of items. You'll notice that the first line of the code says that this is going to create some content tabs, just like you saw earlier on the web page. And then if you see that we have fragments that are enumerated 1 through 9, that tells you how many tabs that you're going to have. We can customize this code so that it matches with your Word document that you have for your syllabus, and it matches the heading structure that you have in your Word document of your syllabus. So each fragment would be a main heading section. So we have the instructor contact information, course overview and expectations, and so on. Then the next section would be the content that is contained within that particular area. So for the instructor contact information, you notice it starts with a division ID code. Division ID just means section. Again, you don't have to understand HTML code because we provide the code for you. Once you copy it and paste it, you'll be able to edit it in Canvas. So let me just quickly demonstrate that for you so you'll know that I'm not going to leave you hanging there. I'm simply going to select all of the code and I'm going to copy it and switch back over to Canvas. And I'm going to, in my syllabus tool, I'm going to select Edit. Then there's an area for HTML code called HTML Editor. It already has code in it. Let me just take what's in there out real quick. And I'm going to paste the code that I just had in that Word document, in that Notepad document. I'm going to paste the code in. And then all I have to do is update my syllabus. And after a quick refresh, you notice how the tabs are right there? Again, I don't expect you to learn HTML code, but now you can simply click on Edit, and you'll be able to locate your section and apply what text you want just by simply copying from your Word document into the editor here in Canvas. Okay, Laura, back to you. Or Gina.
Yeah, and I'm going to go to Caitlin, so the expert, right? So we know we have a long way to go. We are throwing a lot of information at you, but we do want to celebrate some wins. So I was wondering, Caitlin, in your time here, besides the Student Access Center, if there were moments that you did find accessibility baked in to a course, or that somebody went out of their way to make sure that they were meeting your needs?
There were a few times. The most notable was my senior capstone with Dr. Carrie Morgan. She actually emailed the class, it was online capstone. She emailed all of us, I think either right before winter break or during winter break before the spring class began, to ask and kind of poll, you know, major likes, major dislikes, where are ways and things that I can do to make it more accessible or more, convenient's the wrong word, but more open to you and more equal to what your needs are. And every step of the way, the whole semester, if she was going to upload a new document for an assignment, she would say, hey, I'm pretty sure that I have it in the right format, but can you go check it? Or let me know, go look at this and let me know if I need to fix it before the assignment, before the week that the assignment is going to be assigned. And she worked very diligently to create rapport with all of her online students. And I got the chance to meet with her more than once over coffee to discuss class coursework or anything of the above. And it just was a very positive and very reassuring and encouraging experience, because her heart was there for all of her students, and it didn't matter that some of us might be local and some of us might be in Hawaii. She made herself available and accessible to us in every way she was able.
Perfect, thank you. We're also have asked Caitlin to do a demonstration for us. So at this point, I'm going to have her open up her own laptop and show us kind of how she works on a daily basis, how a screen reader works, and when it doesn't. You know, some things. I think that's already turned up. Oh, so. Oh, it won't. It's not very strong.
You'd be surprised.
We'll
Because
see.
as loud as the volume is on my laptop,
Yeah.
it might.
Okay.
Come on. You're not kidding. The speaker is kind of...
ASAP 2017 Certified PDF Adobe Acrobat Reader PC document page has no links.
And yes, I do comprehend that at that speed. Do you have the
Certificate up?
Yeah. So we all know and hate to love the ASAP training that all of us had to go through. This is my certificate proving that I did it, which ASAP is a whole other monster I'm not going to get into on its lack of accessibility. So all this document says, all it says is the title to me. And it only says the title because I named it, so I know what the heck it was in my document folder. It doesn't read any, I couldn't even tell you how long ago I took this and what information is actually on the document. I have no idea. It just has the title, and I know it's the certificate because I named it thus.
And you can see I tried to select some of the text on there and I couldn't. It didn't work. So now I'm pulling up the other image.
Okay.
Photos. Under grant file.
Oh,
Photos.
hey.
Fish touch face.
So I named this fish. My significant other loves to fish, and he went fishing over the weekend, and he texted me this picture. Now in the text message, he described it to me. It's a small catfish that he caught with his casting net. But again, it's a photo, and all my computer tells me.
Title is photos. Slower. Title is photos.
All it says is title is photos, and I'm arrowing around, and nothing.
Pulling up your website, just a moment.
It's okay. I'm not even connected to the internet, so I'm just probably going to verbally describe my website.
Okay, it's pulled up now.
So I started my own small online business a year ago called, well, the web URL is thevirtualloop.com. Kaitlyns Virtual Loop is the name. And as you can see by, you should be able to see by the color contrast, the background is kind of a creamy, it's kind of off-white. Correct me if I'm wrong, because this is
in green here.
yeah, the heading is green, and then if you scroll down, the background should be off-white with black text.
Yep.
Now, for someone who is low vision and using a screen magnification software or even just a large screen cell phone, this is much more amenable to their eyesight, because that blinding white background that comes as default on many websites is very, very hard. And I speak from experience. When I could see, I had low vision, and I would get massive eye strain headaches because the contrast was so glaring that, I mean, letters would just start to blur. So, you know, when they were talking about difference in contrast, I made mine. I actually have a friend, I had her refresh my webpage, couldn't tell you how many times, to make sure that it was visually readable for her. And the text, I believe I used 14 point for the headings and 12 point for the links. All of my links are in black text. It's structured with headings. I used WordPress as a web host, and every time I would go and type web content, I would type it into a Word document, format it, put the headings in place, and then copy and paste my web content into the editor on my website, thus making it readable and navigable for my screen reader. So I use first key navigation. I can hit the letter H and it'll go down each heading. It'll go down the title, the about me, the contact me. And if you'll click on Kaitlyns highlighted businesses, yeah, it's up in the top navigation bar.
Okay, there we go.
So my idea eventually is to have more than just one link there. But Little Apple Riders is the lessoning program that I take horseback riding lessons through with my friend. She actually, we came to an agreement, and I made, if you click on the lesson calendar.
I'm seeing archives.
No, right,
The Apple Riders.
it's like it's right there.
Yeah.
Yes, click on that.
It's taking just a second.
And it's slow.
Yep.
So I put all that content up for my riding instructor. It's got her cancellation policies, her pricing, her rules on you will ride wearing a helmet or you won't ride. And it also has 2 links so you can book with her. And all of that I can navigate with my screen reader with little to no problem, unless WordPress is having a moment that day, which happens. But this is kind of the idea when you think of accessibility. It's not just accessible for you, it's accessible and readable for many individuals. And I really tried to make my business plan as accessible as I could, because it's something that I've run into so many times over the years, was not being able to navigate a website, not being able to book an appointment with someone or see what their hours of availability are or contact them.
Thank you very much for demonstrating.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so our last part here is some quick tips. We've thrown a lot of information at you. It's hard to absorb. We completely understand that. And we are always available to you if you have questions or need help with anything that you're working on. But some quick tips, both in accessibility and that universal design for learning, is to be very consistent in your course organization, in your instructions, in your own response patterns, in the grading that you do for students, and how you help your students. It helps them to feel secure that they know what's coming next. Be clear and simple with your instructions. Don't make them super complex. Don't make them go and find how they're supposed to complete something. Lay it out very clearly for them. Start with content that's already fully accessible, but then present that content in multiple ways. So you might build something on a Canvas page, but then also have a video that gives them some instruction, or link to a website that can also support it. It just gives them a variety of options on how to absorb the content you're wanting them to learn. Offer them examples where that's appropriate. If you have a project that you want them to do, give them an example of something that did receive an A from you. And so they can have an idea of what your expectations are and how they can be successful in accomplishing your project. Allow adequate time, both for the student to absorb the information and to respond. Now, in an online course, we are supposed to be good time managers ourselves. And so it's not give them an extended, all semester to get everything done or anything like that. But if you're thinking about structuring an online quiz, give them enough time to fully read the question and answer the question. It doesn't need to be so fast as they would if they were circling answers or filling in a Scantron. Make sure that they have adequate time to respond. Provide feedback to them along the way as they're doing larger projects. Have them turn in rough drafts or sections as they're going to help them feel, you can let them know that they're on the right track. Or redirect them if they're really off track. And then when you get to the end of the semester, it makes it easier for you. You're not really reading that 10 or 20 page paper for the first time. You've already read several sections of it, and you can devour that and grade it a little bit more quickly. Give them options for demonstrating their learning. Maybe it's not a paper that they need to write. Maybe it's some sort of project or video or presentation that would work better for them to convey what they've learned. So think about what are the alternatives that work for you and would be more engaging to the students as well. Really clarify what collaboration is all right for you in your class environment. Some faculty, some instructors are not comfortable with students working together on problems because they want those students to really show what they're learning. But then there's a lot of strength of students sharing ideas and collaborating to come to find the answer together. So if you are comfortable with that, let students know that you encourage it, that you want them to work together and to show how they've all contributed to that project. And then finally, ask for feedback from them. Let them know that you want to know how you can improve what you're doing. You want to hear from them if something's not working from them. And then you can improve it both within the semester and also for future semesters.
Right, Caitlin, I had another question or two for you, but we're running short on time. And so I think it'd be better to open it up to everybody else than me ask you questions. I do want to allow you to give some final thoughts. And before I do that, I would love it if everybody else please join me in thanking Caitlin for being here today and sharing her story. So if you want to give any final thoughts about your experience or what, keeping in mind these are K-State teachers, professors, GTAs, what final thoughts you want to leave them with?
A couple major ones. Jason, you're here. Get to know him. Get to know him and his office. Use them. That's what they're here for. Don't be timid or shy, or I don't think that this is a proper question or this is a dumb question, because believe me, the dumbest question is, well, why can't you read that? And I'm having to sit here and list all the reasons why I can't read that. But you have your resources and get to know them. Even if you don't have a student this semester or next semester, create a rapport and know who they are, have their phone number or email on your speed dial. So when you do, you're not like, crap, how am I supposed to do this? I don't know how to handle this, because you can turn to them and say, hey, I got this letter. What's the best way we can work together to provide the student with what they need in a timely manner? And second, just as we've kind of iterated throughout, Make yourself accessible to your students, whether that be via office hours, via email. I understand many of my professors are like, after 5 p.m. on Friday, I am unavailable till 8 a.m. Monday. Totally understandable. But during those hours that you're available, be truly available and really thoroughly read and respond to questions and concerns. Because that means more to a student to feel like they're heard than to feel like, oh, you're just a number or a name on a roster. I'll get to you when I get to you.
Thank you. You're getting a lot of heads nodding in the audience, so appreciate that.
Any questions?
Yes. Okay, perfect example. In our course policies and procedures, we had a line in there that says, for more information, go to www.ksu.edu. It should have said, for more information, go to, and then the hyperlink should have been embedded into the phrase Kansas State University website.
Yeah. So here I've pulled up a couple of examples here that Deborah had in her document. It's linked to the sample syllabus right here. For Kaitlynn's screen reader, if we had put the entire address, it would letter by letter read to her https://k-state.instruction. You know, it
And
would
in
do
some
it letter by
cases,
letter.
it'll combine all the letters into nonsensical words.
Right, you know, because it doesn't know what that is. But if it says, instead it will read sample syllabus hyperlink or link, right? Does it just say link?
It depends on the mood the screen reader's in.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll say link, sometimes it'll say hyperlink, but the important part is it says sample syllabus here, link here, or sample syllabus fall 2019. If you want to put your last name or something, or building, no, I don't know, whatever, however you title it, here.
And so to make any words that you've built in a document into a hyperlink, you simply highlight those and then right click, and hyperlink is right there as an option.
Or a shortcut key, if you highlight it, Control K on your keyboard, it'll bring up a dialog box, and then you just paste the URL into it.
Any others? Yeah.
I had a question about alt text. Complex diagram that shows a big cycle or something like that. How much detail is appropriate for the alt text?
What type of diagram? Give me an example.
The carbon cycle.
So this is my personal opinion. You could say, here's a diagram of the carbon cycle and how many points are there in the cycle? I don't know anything about it.
A lot.
Okay, so
But it doesn't.
okay, so either you could do the carbon cycle is pictured here, and if you're expecting your students to be able to read each point of the cycle, you could list it in a paragraph directly beneath the photo. Because sometimes you can have a lot of space for text. It just really depends on the website and how generous they feel.
And Caitlin makes a good point. While you have that image there, you could write below it more fully explain the image and what it is you're wanting the students to get from that. So it could support all of your students to, you have the image of the carbon cycle, but what is the step process of following that cycle? So first you start here, and then the next part is this, and then, talking it through with them verbally in that paragraph as well.
And then you might notice on those illustrations also that neither one of those illustrations says image of or picture of. That's not necessary. The screen reader will provide that for them. So be very concise when you're thinking about your description. Close your eyes and imagine what is it, and use the words as clearly and simply as possible.
And don't be afraid to use imagery to enhance the look of your course for students that do have the visual abilities.
Because
You
some people
simply
are
do
visual
it as a
learners.
descriptive image and it will skip it for those that don't. But then it does engage and enhance the experience for your visual learners too. Any other questions? Thank you all. Oh, go ahead, yeah.
So you used an example earlier, like trying to look at something through a microscope and how hard that can be. If best way just to be violent with descriptions like that? Or what's the best way to do that?
Well, the best way is to always first ask the student what the best way is for them. And that way they can tell you. For me, now back then, my professor had them get a student assistant that could look at it and tell me what was in it. That only somewhat made it easier. Because, I mean, you're looking at a blob of cells. I'm never really going to know what that blob of cells looks like. I'm only going to have the image description that I'm making up in my head. So it really is down to the student and what their specific needs are. Something that I need may be completely different from someone else who is also blind needs, because we still learn differently.
And before we leave, I do want to share one other website with you as a resource, because here we have not only the information that we have today, but a lot more information that you can always go to on our website, and that way you can have a resource for later. If you're not familiar with our Canvas information page, it's found at canvas.ksu.edu/info. Here we have information on Canvas specific updates and news, but we have a link for digital accessibility. Again, all the material that we've covered today is contained within this web area. And if you navigate through, you'll see we have the checklists in the website in a web format, but we also have another downloadable link in case you want to share it with your friends. Please do share this website with them. So canvas.ksu.edu/info. Digital accessibility is the area that you need to go to. And all these points are available and more.
And so they have links to all of the different resources on how to understand